You stayed up late. You pounded that decaf green tea and ate an unspeakable number of chocolate-covered pretzels to bring your story into existence. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but it could use some work. Never fear, because we finally made it to the fun part. Yep, we're talking about revision. A lot of writers experience this kind of seesaw effect while writing a first draft, feeling like they are genius incarnate in that wonderful zone of flow where a story seems to be writing itself. But 5 minutes later, they're feeling like they've written garbage so offensive that Oscar the Grouch wouldn't even bother to insult it. It is such hackneyed nonsense. God, why am I even doing this? Neither feeling is entirely true. Odds are, you have at least a good sketch of the story you were after in a first draft. But the revision process is where you get to look at what you wrote and make it do what you actually wanted it to do. If you feel like revision is somehow cheating, or that you should be good enough to get across what you want on the first go-round, or otherwise you're not a real writer, stop. No, bad writer. Stop that. No pretzels for you. Whether you're looking over your work yourself or giving what you wrote to someone else, and we highly recommend that you do both, there are a couple things that you should think about as you revise. First, paradoxically, don't revise right away. Get some space. You've just spent a ton of mental and emotional energy willing something into existence that was never there before. Get away from it. Far away from it for a couple days. Read or watch or listen to some stuff that you love. Let the story fall into the recesses of your mind. It's not going anywhere. And when you come back to it, it's kind of like walking into your house after you've been on vacation for a while. You can smell fragrances that normally fade into the background for you. You can hear sounds from the road that you usually tune out. You're going to pick up on details of the story that you missed and have a clearer sense of what might be working and what might need some work. The second thing to bear in mind is that you shouldn't try to fix all of the problems all at once. Consider breaking up issues into separate passes of a script or story. You can read it once, thinking about how the dialogue sounds, or even better, speaking the dialogue aloud, and finding all of the wonderful ways you've overwritten everything. You can go through your script looking at one character's journey and whether their choices are conveyed clearly and make sense. You can do a pass for long-term story developments, or for tone. You can read with an eye to whether the action will make sense when it's translated into sound effects. You can think about timing, and whether events should be placed differently. You can do a pass to try and add in 5 more jokes, to see what happens if you take out 5 pages, or if you swap which characters have this important conversation. There is no end to the kinds of revision work that you can do, so break it up into discrete tasks. Set priorities for yourself before you start revising about what you think the story needs, or actually the better question is, what things do you think a listener needs that might be missing from the story right now? Try and be honest and self-aware. What are you worried didn't come through? What might be too long? Which characters do you feel confident about, and which are you still kind of a little shaky? But don't beat yourself up too much either. When someone else looks at your work, the odds are good they'll find patterns and smart things you put in there that you aren't even aware of. If you're struggling with how to revise effectively, there are a few ways you can get a clearer picture of what you need to do. Sometimes it can help to literally see a different version of the story. Print it out if you typed it, or transcribe it onto a computer if you wrote it out by hand. You'll catch things you did and places you could sharpen your dialogue just by moving the story onto a different surface. You can go through your work with the proverbial red pen, or read it aloud in order to refine what you're trying to get across. Different methods have different benefits, and often the answer to what the best approach is all of the above. When you're giving your work to another person to look at, though, specify what you want from them. If all you're after is a dialogue polish, don't leave it open for them to rethink the villain's whole evil plot, and give more weight to the problems they identify than the solutions that they offer. If you're not achieving what you're after, that lack will come through. But even experienced editors often can't fully articulate why something didn't work or what might fix the issue. This is, by the way, an underhanded way of saying that if you are revising someone else's work, the key is to try and meet the story where it lives. Try and frame your notes to call the writer's attention to the impact they want to have on the audience, and highlight the places you think they could be more effective. Even when you're working on your own work, take the story on the terms that it sets out for itself, based on what's there on the page. Then you can try and help it be the best version of that I don't know, screwball farce about offensive HR reports or whatever. One of my favorite writers, George Saunders, wrote one of the best series of thoughts on revision that I've read. It's an essay called What Writers Really Do When They Write. And in it, he describes the process of revision as kind of the artistic equivalent of being an optometrist. Does the story look clearer like this? Or clearer like this? Revision is where you can experiment, where you can try things in different ways, where you can discover the thing you wanted to do was kind of stupid, and what's actually interesting is the thing you did entirely by accident. It's your first real chance to take a good look at your story and try to figure out, okay, what is this going for? What can this be that it isn't right now? Because we've spent all of this time and all of these video memory cards to talk to you about audience control and taking your listener on a journey and getting them to complete the story for themselves. Revision is where you can get as close to that listener's experience as possible and put the effectiveness of your journey to the test. Everything you're doing in trying to crack the storytelling telepathy that Zach talked about all the way back in Lesson 2 is grounded on the assumption that your mind and my mind both work in similar ways. That we can be moved by the same thing, that we can be inspired and motivated by the same things, that stories in audio and all other mediums are what connect us to each other. So if you can improve something for you, it'll make your audience respond to your work even more. Revision is all about strengthening your story's ability to connect to your listener, to imagine the joy and the excitement and the amusement and the terror that you're going to put them through. No one gets that down on the first try. I don't care if their name is Stephen King. Writing is rewriting, and rewriting and rewriting. And I promise, it gets better.
Hey everybody, Zach Valenti here. This was a sample lesson from Audio Drama Storytelling, a new online course produced by Sarah Shachat, Gabrielle Urbina, and myself, where we explore how to understand and create compelling fiction in the world of audio. If you'd like to get more information about the course, you can do that by heading to course.fearofpublicshame.com. Click here to go there, click here for more sample videos from the course, and click here to subscribe for more videos on this channel. And please let us know what you think about this video in the comments below or by hitting that like button. You can also find a link for a PDF transcript of this video in the description. Thanks for watching.